In the Discord server, I constantly see people talking about like, I don't really get my personality type results. I thought I was INFP, but this test, it's telling me I'm an INTJ, or like every single time I take the test, I'm not really sure if I'm actually getting my accurate personality type. And so in today's video, what we're gonna talk about are some practical ways anyone can get more accurate results with their personality type tests. And yeah, these are things that I don't really see people talking about, but that we found super helpful when we're doing our teaching sessions and workshops.
What I think is a really important step that everyone doesn't really talk about is before even taking the test. What people don't actually realize is the mindset that you're taking the test can actually influence the results. So if you're not like in the right mood, or maybe you're in like the work mood, that can really influence what answers you're gonna get at the moment. What we do a lot is actually a mindset exercise, teaching or helping people just to kind of clear the mind before doing any tests.
Even though it can sound sort of strange, literally just taking a couple deep breaths and pausing before jumping into these like really intense questions about yourself, you'd be surprised how much even just that can actually really help with being in the right mindset to answer the questions more accurately.
I actually really like having a little small meditation moment and then going through a list of things to let go of, like letting go of your work self, school self, any ideal selves that you're trying to be. Some other things that I always really like to cover before the test is there's no good or bad personality types. Okay, so some people want to try to get a specific type, and so they try to like get all the answers to that personality type, but actually the results aren't telling you what you're good at. It's just trying to measure your natural preferences, not behavior. So it's something that we prefer cognitively outside of the roles that you play for others. Now we're gonna get to do the test. Okay, we did the mindset, now we're ready to do the test. What's really important to remember is that Myers-Briggs, it's trying to measure your preferences. That means what you like to do most of the time, not that you do it all the time. And then the second thing it's trying to measure is your strong answers, where you are on the spectrum. Basically, we can do all the functions, right? We can both relate to extroversion and introversion. What MBTI is trying to measure is which one do you lean on more. That's why we call it preference. When most people are doing the online test, there's going to be like an extreme, like the answer here or here, like two extremes. And then there's going to be an in the middle. Most people, when they start answering the test, they'll try to do it in the middle. And those are the people, when they get their results, they tend to say, my results look strange. Most people, if they answer in the middle most of the time, they're going to get a lot of results that say, well, you don't have a preference, because that's what you're saying. If you sit mostly in the middle for everything, that's saying that you prefer like
Nothing.
Yeah. So answer in definites, not in the middle, as much as you can.
Another thing to keep in mind is a lot of these online tests, they ask questions about like, what do you find energizing? What do you get excited about? What do you love doing? And I've found that a lot of people, sometimes they can sort of overthink some of those words. And they're like, well, I like doing this, but do I love doing this? I find it energizing, but I don't want to do it all the time. Remember, at the end of the day, this test, it doesn't know you. These questions, they're not trying to say, this is how you always are. It's literally just asking you some creative different questions to try to understand what are some preferences that you do have. So comparing these two things to each other, which one do you find more natural or comfortable? And so even if you're not always like literally finding it energizing, like, oh my gosh, I love going outside. It's not this like super extreme thing. It's literally just like, what are some things that you prefer?
What you want to think about is what are the answers that best represent you most of the time. We actually have a lot of examples where people will kind of take a lot of exceptions, or, well, this is a story where I wasn't that. And then they want to question, well, doesn't that mean I'm not that type?
Well, there was this one time that I planned things. Well, there was this one time that I really liked being alone. Think about the bigger picture. You know, there was this one person that we had teaching sessions with. And in her interview, we noticed there were all these different patterns of how she was really good at being outside aware, very agreeable, very conscientious, and liked adjusting a lot for other people. But when we asked her, she actually thought that she was a super disagreeable person and not good at getting along with people. And this contradiction, it really confused us. When we asked her a little bit more, it turned out the only reason she thought she was disagreeable was because of what her mom had told her a couple times growing up.
But then none of her friends would
But
say
literally no one
that.
else
No one else
says
gave
that.
her that feedback. Her colleagues never said.
Yeah. Try your best to not get too distracted by exceptions or like these small anecdotes, this one thing that someone has told you. That's super helpful if you're trying to get more accurate personality type results.
Every time I look at a question, there's probably 3 things I ask myself. Looking at how you are most of the time, because it's measuring preference. Secondly, asking yourself, is this my authentic natural self? And not the person I'm trying to be or strive to be. The last thing is asking, how do I see myself? But also checking if how I see myself is consistent with how others see me. So it's really important when you look at that, because a lot of people, when they answer that question, they think of how they see themselves, but they forget that sometimes how they see themselves is a completely different picture to how others have accounted or seen them.
You know, that person where they're just so sure that they like being open-ended and chill and flexible, but then if you ask their friends are like, no, you're not.
The extrovert-introvert example is a common one that we get, because we get a lot of people thinking they're introverts and then they finish the session realizing they're an extrovert and then coming back and going, I told my friends I was an extrovert and they were like, yeah, that's so obvious. I didn't know. That's not news to us.
Yeah, it's really tricky because it's not about just going like, don't listen to these people, don't listen to these people, whatever. It's actually more just like making sure that you look at all these different perspectives to make sure that you're not missing some stuff by accident.
It's really just a checklist to make sure you're not looking at something one-sided. And that's what we mean when we say look at the big picture. What I also notice a lot is some people tend to fixate on one word. For example, it might ask, do you prefer ideas versus facts? And they'll fixate on the word idea and really resonate with the idea of wanting to attach their identity to that one word. So it's actually really helpful to consider the question as a whole and making sure that you're not ignoring the entire sentence and what that's actually asking you.
Another thing is be a little bit careful asking other people what they think about your personality. It's pretty uncommon to have friends that know you in lots of different contexts where they've seen you in stress, not stress. They might just see you at school, or they might just see you with these friends. They're often not actually seeing you in lots of different contexts. As well, MBTI, it's really trying to describe what's going on in here. It's actually trying to get into your motivations or how you were thinking about it when you were doing that thing. And so sometimes your friends, they could be super well-meaning, but actually give you some misleading descriptions of yourself. There was one person that we talked with and they were really trying to figure out their personality type. But whenever we asked them a question about themselves, they asked their friend.
Is that what I do?
Is that what I do?
Good.
Like, what do you think I do? Is that me? And they did that for every single question, to the point where it started being clear that that person really had no idea about themselves. And they were sort of just outsourcing all the answers to their friend. When you're taking the test, remember, it's supposed to be about introspection and learning about yourself. Making sure you're not just like taking some shortcuts to skip to the results, outsourcing the introspection to other people. If you really want the best results possible, sometimes you're going to need to like slow down and make sure that you're like thinking it through and reflecting for yourself, even if it might feel a little uncomfortable sometimes. Okay, now after the test, you get some results. What are the final things to keep in mind?
Most people, after they've done the test, I hear a lot of common misconceptions that I tend to want to correct them. One of the things I like to remind everyone is MBTI is an assessment. It's not a test. A test is where you're actually tested for a skill, where you're proving if you're competent at something or what level you are at it. What MBTI is trying to do is actually assess your preferences what things that you like or you say you like. So it's an assessment, not a test. The second misconception is that people get their results and they think, oh, it says here I'm really good at TE, or I'm really, really strong with my NI. Unfortunately, that's actually not what it's saying. The results are not telling you what you're good at. It's just telling you that based on all of the answers that you said that you prefer, this is the tally or the summary of what you say you prefer.
Compared to other things.
Correct. It's not saying that you're really good at NE, it's that you answered a lot of questions that suggest you prefer extroverted intuition in compared to another function.
I really like how you said tally, because that's literally just what it is.
Yeah,
It's
like
literally not saying you're a really nice, friendly person who your NI is so strong, so you're amazing at seeing the future or anything like that. It's just saying when it was like NI versus NE, you kept choosing NI. When it was NI versus SI, you kept choosing NI.
100%. It's not really possible to test you on your skill with how good you are with introverted intuition or extroverted intuition. And if you think about it, the test never tested you on that. It just asked you, like, do you like this one or this one? Yeah. It never asked you to perform the thing itself.
Another big one is, in reality, it's actually really common to not get your best fit personality type on the first try. I'd say over half, maybe even 75% of people, when they take the test, they're usually like almost there, maybe like 1 or 2 letters off. So it's not like completely different, but it's just like there's still some extra letters that they might have some misconceptions on. And even though it could feel weird, like, oh, I want to get my letters right.
But that's what learning about yourself is about, right? You don't learn about yourself
perfectly on the first try.
I think a lot of people complain about how Myers-Briggs is not an accurate system because you keep getting a different result. And it's not really the fault of the system. It's just that MBTI is not something that you can learn really quickly. It actually takes time, expertise, and knowledge to understand it, experience it for yourself, and learn it for yourself. And as you learn more about yourself, that's where the accuracy comes in. It's almost similar to like if somebody just gave you the answer to a math problem, but you don't understand how to actually calculate the math problem. Most people, if you give them the answer to the formula, they're going to maybe
question it or like get super confused.
Yeah, that's not my type. I don't feel like that because they still need to learn more about MBTI or have more experiences or see more examples.
At the end of the day, the thing that's always gonna bring the most accurate results is taking the extra time to learn about the framework for yourself, and not just learn about it, but actually go outside to test it out and experience it and like have fun exploring it in real life. A lot of people, they like sort of guessing about what the different categories mean. They like sort of just theorizing about what the categories are talking about. But those guesses are usually what lead to people getting some sort of strange mixed up results.
This is actually connected to a lot of people that ask, well, how about if I'm really young? Can I still get an accurate result? Sometimes you can arrive at an accurate result when you're younger, but sometimes it's just that you need more experiences. Sometimes you need to benchmark off more people or more different life experiences, not just school, but maybe
relationships, seeing yourself in different types of stress and context. You know, actually, when I first took the test, I kept getting like right in the middle with J and P, and actually leaning more towards J, even though I am a P. And in retrospect, the reason was because at the time I was in high school and I was constantly loaded with all these different homework and responsibilities. And in comparison to some of my classmates, I was like, yeah, okay, I get my stuff done. But it wasn't until I went to college and saw what my actual preferences were outside of that context. What do I actually like doing when I'm not assigned homework 24/7? That's when I was able to go, oh, no. Seeing more examples, those are some things that are sometimes hard to access when you're younger. You only see yourself in the context of your parents.
One thing I want to clarify with you here today in front of everybody here is in the past, when somebody's asked you, hey, Eric, what test should I take? You have recommended 16personalities.com. This is like the cardinal sin of the MBTI community. So what's the deal?
I know it's a little controversial, but I actually think 16personalities.com is a really great place to start when you really know nothing and you're just trying to dip your toes into it. I really actually appreciate the ways that 16personalities.com makes things really cute and accessible and fun. And as much as I love talking with people about functions, I've actually seen the best results when people start with something that's fun and accessible and doesn't jump into functions too quickly. Now, don't get me wrong. I totally know there's tons of flaws and limitations with 16personalities.com. And actually, that's something I tell people. I go, it's pretty common for people to be like 1 or 2 letters off when they take the test on this place. But actually, I found it's like pretty fun and like a good, easy place to start. As much as 16personalities.com has flaws, I've actually found people jumping into more complicated tests or jumping to learn the functions too early. I actually have found that that's way more harmful and confusing and puts people off way more than 16personalities.com. And I don't know about you, but actually some of the more complicated tests, I mean, my head hurts when I'm taking those tests, and I'm someone who knows about personality type stuff. So why would I recommend that to someone else that has no idea about personality type stuff? I don't know, that's just sort of my logic about things.
I would say the test that I would say is gold standard still today is the official Myers-Briggs, which you can get an access through a certified practitioner. And the really useful thing with Myers-Briggs is that they're not just giving you the test and then leaving you to figure it out yourself. There's actually a certified practitioner to help prepare you and explain to you the
different categories, what they mean, what they don't mean.
Exactly.
Actually, even profiling sessions we've found don't always like give everyone the answers that they're looking for, or can sometimes not be the full experience.
What we've found is a full experience is where you can create a situation where, yes, you do an assessment like an online test or a profiling session. Then secondly, where you learn about MBTI and the framework. Then thirdly, you see the type come to life in yourself. And that's either through workshops or observing yourself in just how you show up every day. The combination of these 3 things will really help you with the full experience of seeing it all come together.
Some of these topics are actually the exact reason why Z and I, we don't do profiling sessions, even though lots of people ask us for it. But instead, we actually prefer doing teaching sessions. So we have this program, it's called MBTI Foundations. It's like 3 sessions long where we go through each letter, we talk about what it is, what it isn't, with lots of different examples, and it helps also explain to people not just like what their functions are, but what that actually means, giving again people examples so they can see it come to life for themselves.
Again, there's no one way to find your best fit type, and we're not saying this is the only way that you need to find your best fit type. But if you're someone that's been looking for a place where you can learn MBTI from people with expertise and have good experience, maybe this is right for you. Otherwise, what we really wanted from this video was for you to help understand how the tests work, how to help you take the test better. And these are just some things that we'd like to share based on our experiences that have worked for us when we've helped with other people.
Let us know down in the comments below if you learned something new. Thanks everyone for hanging out and watching. See you guys in the next one.